I can't get my iPad to work, so I only see one person at a time. Please forgive me. Okay. All right. So we started the Megillah last week, right? Okay. And what I want to see this week is that I want us to see that the, okay, here it is. Okay. Just a little bit of background. Okay, so we have Yaakov and we have Esau. Okay, and from the line of Yaakov, who comes Benjamin. Hey, welcome. Benjamin, okay. And then from Benjamin comes the first king of Israel, which is King Saul, right? It's the only king that is not from the line of Yehuda, King Saul, okay? And from Esau, who comes Amalek. And what was the name of the king of Amalek? Agag. Okay. And what do they call Haman? And we're going to see in the Megillah, they're going to call him Haman the Agagite. Okay, because Haman was a descendant of Agag. So from here comes Haman. Okay. And who is we're going to see Ish Yehudi on the line of Benjamin. It's Mordechai. Mordechai and Esther. Okay, so we're going to see how this plays out, because we know that from Yaakov and Esau, right, since Yaakov bought their birthright, but then when Esau wanted to get the blessing for the Bechor that Hashem had given his father, has given Abraham, and he had given his father said, I'm sorry, I already made you a slave of your brothers. I gave him everything. I gave him the heavens, I gave him the earth, I gave Yaakov everything. And so then Esau, he cries a very, very loud cry, and then the Talmud says that Esau hates Yaakov. This is going to be forever. What does forever mean? It means until Mashiach comes. Okay, so this is what here it starts. What is called irrational hatred. Irrational hatred towards the Jews. Okay, there's no rationality, there's no reason, they just hate us. Okay, and from Esau comes Amalek. Amalek is called the first of the nations that attacked the Jews. The Jewish people were called the first of the nations because we're the first of the nations to do Hashem's will. And Amalek is just the contrary. It's the first of the nations to go against Hashem's will. Because when we leave Egypt and we leave with our hands up, which means Hashem is with us, Hashem did the 10 plagues, Hashem saved us, Hashem will be with us, right? This is bitachon. Amalek came and attacked us, even though we were not going to take their land, nothing. But they just wanted us to put our hands down. So they compare it to a very, very hot water. Today we should say it the other way, cold punch, a cold punch, right? So you see a cold punch and everybody, oh my gosh, I can't go in it. And then one person, they jump in, right? They jump in and, oh my gosh, all of a sudden, you know what? It's not such a taboo. Maybe that person got, it's sick from the cold, but at least he broke the taboo. That's what Amalek did. He came to attack us. And what happened? Then we put our hands down. We said, maybe Hashem was with us yesterday, but maybe he's not going to be with us tomorrow. And what are we going to do? And then, what are we going to do in Israel? How are we going to? So that's why Amalek is called the doubt. Okay, the doubt came into us. Okay, and when Hashem says in the Torah that he said to King Saul, the first king of Israel, you have to kill all of Amalek. You have to kill all the doubt, right? Either we have faith or we have doubt. But The more doubt, the less faith. The more faith, the less doubt. So you have to kill all of Amalek, all the men, all the women, all the children. And what did King Saul do? He left alive who? He left alive the king Agag, one night. That night, a woman came to the prison, right? And the next day, the prophet, wait, ladies, please, no technology here. My thoughts really leave me. If you need to use a phone, just outside.
No, just tell my husband I'm here. I was
No
supposed to
problem,
be
no
home.
problem.
I apologize.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. All right, anyway, so King Saul, right, leaves alive the king Agag. A woman comes to the prison, and the next day the prophet Shmuel comes and says, what are these animals that I hear? And King Saul says, well, I left alive the animals to give offerings to Hashem, right? He's very proud of what he did. And the prophet says, do you think Hashem needs your gifts more than what he needs for you to obey him? Like, does Hashem really need your gifts of the animals more than he wants you to obey him? Hashem said, kill every animal, kill everybody, right? So King Saul is called a Chassid Shtus. A Chassid, he wanted to do Hashem's will, but it's foolish because he wanted to be more merciful than Hashem. He said, I left alive the king so everybody would know the great nation that we vanquished, right? So that's why the prophet said to him, you're going to lose your crown and it's going to go to somebody better than you. That's the reason he lost his crown. And the prophet, they brought out King Agag, and the prophet Shmuel slayed him with a sword. Okay, thank you. All right, anyways, because he had impregnated a woman, generations later, who is born? Haman. And what are we going to see? Haman has no problem making a law to kill every man, woman, child of the Jewish people, right? So was Hashem too extreme in saying you should kill every man? Look, I wish it was just a story, but it's a true story. I had a lady come to my house, young lady. She was in Israel in visiting a friend of theirs that is a soldier that has been injured in Gaza. So in the next bed, there was a soldier also injured in Gaza who had lost his arms and the feet. So they're listening to him, to the other soldier, tell his family how he lost his limbs. What happened in Gaza that he's lost his limbs. This is a true story. So he says it was one night in Gaza. He was the lookout person for the battalion. The battalion was sleeping. So he was on the lookout so that the other soldiers could sleep. And he saw through his binoculars that there was a little girl, a little tiny girl, all of like 3-4 years old, approaching them. And she had something here in her waist. Yeah, I've said it. Yeah. Okay. So he realized what it was, but he said, I couldn't get myself to shoot her. I couldn't get myself to kill a little girl. And so she exploded herself, and that's how he lost his limbs.
Wow.
But look, you know what? All the stories in the Torah, it's like you're reading a book, and all of a sudden it came alive. We're living those stories of the Torah. We are alive on those stories of the Torah. When Hashem says you need to kill all the women and the children, and we want to be, you know what? No, I want to be merciful. Poor little child. You know what? No. You know, what does the Torah say about Sodom? You know what it says about Sodom? When the 3 angels were in the house of Lot, what does it say? You can read it in the Torah. It says that every man and woman and child came and surrounded the house of Lot and said, who are the visitors that you have? We want to know them. We want to know them means we want to have relations with them. These are the children, they're corrupt. Sodom was corrupt, and you know, we're living that. Where are they attacking us today? In the United States, where are they attacking us? In the universities and in the schools. You know what I read? That from these Harvard and all these amazing universities, they make teaching material for high schools and for elementary school. So imagine a teacher is getting this material, right? And oh, it has the stamp of Harvard, it has a stamp of Stanford, it has a stamp of MIT. It must be good, but it's the indoctrination of our society. And they want to even corrupt the children. This is what we're living, okay? So years later, comes Mordecai and Esther, yeah? Anybody there? Okay, anyways, so, all right. So let's start our Megillah. Okay, if you want a Megillah, it's here. Okay, and we are, yeah, you can take them. Yeah, yeah, you can follow. So we already have done the party. Now, this whole story of the Megillah, it embarks ourselves into 14 years. This is from the beginning of the and to the end. It's about 14 years. So, you know, there's many themes in this Megillah. One of the themes is that life is like a chess game, you know, and things happen and nothing is random. Like when you're playing chess, every move, you know, some people that are like the greatest of the chess players, whatever move they make, they're already thinking like 5 moves forward, right? Nothing is by chance, nothing is by random, everything is measured. That's life. Nothing that we live is by random. Everything is a piece of the puzzle that we're gonna need because Hashem is making this billion piece puzzle, okay? So already Ahashverosh has made a party, 180 days. You know, it's very interesting. We just had in the world in India, I don't know if you've seen, but there was a party. It was not even the wedding. It was like the pre-wedding. It's like an engagement. $150 million. $150 million. I think you could add another 150 with all the jewels that the people were wearing. That was only a weekend. This is 180 days. Okay, such a party. All right. Anyways, but we have to remember, what was the party for? The party was celebrating that the Jews were in exile and Hashem had not fulfilled the prophecy that in 70 years of the destruction of the first temple, they were going to rebuild the second temple. So this was a party where they invited the Jews. Who were the only 2 Jews that didn't attend the party? Mordecai and Esther. Okay? Now, they're in the party, and not only, what is it celebrating? Chas v'shalom. Listen, this is very real. Israel is fighting the war for all of us, not only for all the Jews in every part of the world, because if Israel has Shalom does not win, they will come to do October 7th in every corner of the world to the Jews. And it will just start with the Jews, because then they will go with everybody else, okay? So, Chas v'shalom, if we don't win the war, imagine that there's a party celebrating that we have no Israel. That's the party that the Jews were in. That's the party. Let's celebrate that there is no Israel. Come celebrate. And the Jews that went there, they were, you know, they just told me that, I think last night, I don't know, or in the last few days, there was some big award ceremony. I don't know if it was the Oscars or
yeah.
Okay.
And he got up with a person that made the Holocaust film and said Israel should stop fighting. It was a disgrace. Self-hating Jew.
Who made this? Spielberg?
No, it wasn't Spielberg. It was another Jewish man. I don't know.
A Jewish man stood up.
Made the Holocaust. It was a film about the Holocaust.
Uh-huh.
And he got the award.
Uh-huh.
And he got up and said, they should stop fighting
Okay.
Israel, and
Okay.
it was a disgrace.
Okay, a disgrace. He said, Jews for Gaza. Yeah, right? This is what they took. Okay. This is exactly this. This is this. It's repeating. It's repeating itself. Okay. Jews that are, you know what? Jews that are protesting and they're saying, you know, from the river to the sea, from the river to the sea. They don't even know what they're chanting, right?
That's right.
But this is it, because you know, it's like being seduced by whatever, you know, it's prevalent. It's cool to do that. It's cool to dress up and be against Israel right now. Okay, that was the party. So not only did we partake of that party, okay, and we went, and not only did we go, our presence, and it was voluntary. Nobody was coerced to go, and it says nobody was coerced to eat. Everything was voluntary, because that's another theme of this, okay? The bechira, the freedom of choice, okay? The freedom of choice. Ahasuerus wanted that the Jews should sin, go against God, but with their freedom of choice. And this is what we're seeing. Nobody's pressuring a Jew to join that protest. Nobody pressured that Jew to get up and said, you know, Israel should stop fighting. So it's the freedom of choice that is being activated. Now, freedom of choice is a very big thing, because it's a gift that Hashem gives us. Okay, angels don't have freedom of choice. We have freedom of choice. Okay, so we went in presence. Our freedom of choice was activated, and we enjoyed. It was like, oh, finally they're gonna accept us. Yes, we're part of them. Okay, so the enjoyment, and that's another thing that we're gonna see, because on Purim it says that, you know, a big theme of Purim is. One second, I hear noises here. Okay. All right. So let's go. So now already the party, already the king got drunk, already he killed Vashti, right? And already, I think that did we go to the part that they chose Esther? I don't know if okay, so let's go. Okay, on this Megillah, it's page 11, okay? Page 11, like my Megillah. Yeah. Okay. Huh? Okay. Here's a Megillah if you want. Okay. Okay, so. Okay. So page 11 in the bottom, after these things. Okay. So after these things, these events, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman. So already, no, it's before that. After these events, okay, the wrath of the king. Okay. So the wrath of the king. Yeah, number 2. Okay, chapter 2. Okay. After everything that happened, when the anger of the king Ahasuerus passed. Now, another theme is that every time that they mention the king Ahasuerus, because this is Torah, this is Hashem's Chokhmah, on another level, king is also referring to the King of Kings, to Hashem, in some weird way. Okay. All right. So King Ahasuerus passed the anger. He remembered Vashti and what she did and how she was punished. Vashti didn't show up because I asked her to come nude, just wearing the crown in front of all my guests. And look what happened. I punished her. I cut her head. So, you know, the punishment didn't really fit the crime. And he missed her because Vashti was really, really beautiful, even though she was really, really cruel, but she was very, very beautiful on the outside. So the king's young servant said, let us find some young girls for the king. Number 3, the king will choose people in all the countries. Let's make a beauty pageant. So they're going to make a beauty pageant. We're going to take the most beautiful girls from all the kingdom. And the king is going to choose the next queen. Okay. So they would bring him to the harem run by Haggai, the king's servant. Okay. And who watches over the women. And they will be giving cosmetics and beauty treatment. The king liked the idea and commanded it. There was, okay, so now there was a Jewish man in Shushan, the capital, whose name was Mordechai, son of Jair, son of Shimi, son of Kish, Benjamin. So we also have to understand Purim's story is taking place between the two temples. Okay, destruction of first temple, we're in the Babylonian exile. Okay, and the second temple has not yet been rebuilt. So this is the first generation that has come out of Israel. Mordechai, leader of the generation in Babylonia, he was also part of the Sanhedrin. He was part of our courts. Okay, so okay, Ish Yehudi. Okay, he was exiled. Number 6, he was exiled from Jerusalem in the group forced to leave with King Yechaniah of Yehuda, driven out by Nebuchadnezzar. That's who Vashti, that's his, her ancestor. Yes. He brought up Hadassah, known also as Esther. Hadassah is her Jewish name. Esther is her secular name. Okay. Esther is also from the word Hester, which means hidden. That's why Hashem's name is not here in the Megillah, yet he's hidden everywhere. Okay, his cousin, because she did not have a father or a mother. Another of the things is that Esther is an orphan. And this is a key component for our Megillah. It tells us many things. First of all, as we're saying, one of the themes of the Megillah is that there's no random occurrence in life. Everything is important. My son, when he was in my second son, when he was in his interview for law school, they asked him, if you could change something in your life, what would it be? And what did he answer? He answered, I wouldn't change anything, because I am a product of everything that I have lived. Okay, so this is true. As sad as it sounds, Esther needed to be an orphan to fulfill the mission that she had. Why? Because when the Jews, this first generation of Jews that are in exile, and they're in exile, and what are they doing the whole day? They are reading Tehillim, we said, right? They're reading Tehillim. We said this in another class. Hashem, please build a second temple. Hashem, please bring us back to Israel. Hashem, please don't forget about us. But when they got the invitation to the palace, what did they do with their Tehillim? Hashem, forget it. Don't bring Mashiach now. The party has really gotten good here. Ahashverosh is going to take care of us. So Hashem treats us with the same measuring stick that we treat him. You don't want my protection? Hashem says, fine. So you're under the protection of a mundane king. But careful, because today he's your friend, tomorrow I don't know. So why did Esther needed to be an orphan? Because an orphan already knows she can't depend on any human being. Human beings are here today, gone tomorrow. A little child in school, somebody bullies him. What are they going to do? They come home, they tell their father, they tell their mother, their father and the mother, they're going to go to school. Hey, respect my child. But an orphan, if somebody bullies him, who do they cry to? Only Hashem. They know they have a direct line. Only Hashem. To the point that our Torah says, take care of the widow, take care of the orphan, right? And that's why she needed to be an orphan, because she knew I can't depend on anything or anyone on this world. Okay. All right. So Ish Yehudi, he brought up Hadassah, also Esther. Okay. And he adopted her when her father and mother died. Mordechai adopted her as his own daughter. And then he married her. When she grew up, they were married. Okay. Now, Esther in the Talmud is called one of the 7 most beautiful women that ever existed. So when the king's order became known that they're taking the most beautiful women, he hid her. Now, this is not the first time in our Torah that we hear that, right? Who hid somebody? Yaakov hid Rachel. Rachel is also from the tribe of Benjamin. And Abraham hid Sarah because he knew people were going to take her, right? Because she's so beautiful. So he hid her. So what happened? Okay. Esther was also taken to the king's house and put into Haggai's care as he watched over the women. So even though he hid her, they found her. Now they're taking her. And also I've taught this in another class. It says, a tzaddik is in a different level than everybody else in this world. Why? Because when we are not a tzaddik, and sometimes we see destiny happening, what do? We try to, no, I don't want this to happen. No. A tzaddik is like a person that is very, very tall, and they not only see, what's happening in front of them, they're seeing like the big picture. The tzaddik tried to hide her. They are taking her. The tzaddik thinks this is Hashem's hand. This is from Hashem. So he says to her, don't say who is your people. Don't say that you're a Jewess. Okay? All right. So she was taken into Haggai's care, who watched over the women, number 9. So we're on page 12. He liked her and was kind to her. Esther had something that is called Chain. What is Chain? Huh? Grace. She was ingratiated. Whoever saw her, like a little baby, they're so indefensive, right? That Hashem gives them this gift, because grace, Chain, is a gift from God. That whoever sees a little child is like charisma, but it's even, it's a grade even more, because it's charisma, you can have it yourself, but grace is that the other person feels it. Okay, so you see a little defenseless child, and oh my gosh, they're so cute, you want to help them out. Okay, a person can dress up, can put makeup, can put everything, and you know what, you go somewhere and get away from me, like I don't, because grace is a gift from God. Okay, whoever saw her she automatically, so she was in this harem, and the head of the harem, the guy, whatever you want, what do you need? So Esther, she kept kosher and Shabbat even in palace. So he would give her the food she needed and the servants that she needed. Okay. So, number 9, he liked her and was kind to her and hurried to give her a beauty treatment and food and 7 servants from the king's house. Why do I need to know it's 7 servants? Because the Shabbat servant thought this woman never does anything. That was her way of keeping Shabbat. He put her and her maids in the best rooms in the harem. Number 10, Esther said nothing about her people or the place she was born, because Mordecai told her not to tell anyone. Why do we need to know this? Is this important for our story? So let's remember, you know what? Sometimes you put your necklace in the drawer, right? I put it at night, and in the morning, oh my God, I don't know how it got some nuts into it. It's like, I don't know, maybe there's like little elves that come at night, and they, they're on purpose. And then, however the knot is, you have to try to get it out, right? Original problem in this Megillah is that the Jewish people went to the party celebrating that Israel doesn't exist anymore. And not only did we go, we enjoyed it, right? And we used the vessels of the temple because that's what they were displaying, which already from that, only that, because they were already holy vessels, for that we deserved capital punishment. Okay. So here we have Esther going into the palace, okay? The Jewish neshama going into the palace, but she's eating only kosher. She's keeping Shabbat in the palace. What does it mean? It means the Jewish neshama, but it's not allowing the seduction of Amalek. It's not allowing for the seduction of the world to take place. That's why Purim is compared to Kippur. On Kippur, the highest of all the highlight of the day of Kippur is Neilah. Why is it Neilah, the last prayer? Because we get to touch our Yehida, the last part, the fifth part of our neshama, where the Yehida is from Yahid, one with Hashem, which never touches this planet Earth, which means there's a piece of us that is so pure, like before it came to this world, because it's a part of God, it's looking at God straight, and there's nothing in this world that soils it. Even that Jew, if he's a Jew, that got up and said, Jews for Gaza. If he's a real Jew, there's a part of his neshama that is pure, that doesn't agree with what he's saying. But he's been so seduced and taken over by the values of this world. So Esther in the palace, what do they tell us? She had special food. She had 7 maids. It's telling us wherever Esther is keeping true to her values and is not letting herself be seduced by all this nonsense. That's why she can undo the nuts that got into the chain. Are we together? Are we okay? So, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Perdón. Yo no entendí qué es Yehida. I didn't understand what Yehida
So I
is.
only explained it briefly. So there's 5 parts to our soul. Our soul has 5 parts. In our body is only 3 of the bottom parts. Okay, which is neshama, intellect, ruach, the emotional soul, and nefesh, our instinct soul. Those are the 3 parts, but our soul is really like an inverted triangle. It's the smallest part of our soul is in us. Higher than us is Chaya. Chaya is the 4th part of the soul, which is like a soldier, the will. I will obey, I will do, even though it doesn't make sense. But higher than that, the biggest part of the triangle is Yehida. Yehida is the part of our soul that is one with God. That is what makes you a Jew. What makes you a Jew is the Yehida. And that part of our soul has never touched planet Earth, has nothing to do with this world. So nothing of this, no matter what a person has gone through, there's a part of us that is totally pristine, it's totally pure, and it's looking straight because it's a part of God. So it's focused on its mission. And that's all. And that's the part of our soul that is like pulling us up from here, like come back. Like the part of our soul that is like, come back to God, come back to your roots. Like you are a Jew, that's the part of our soul. And that's what Esther represents. She represents the Yehida. And that's why Purim is compared to Yom Kippur. On both, we can actually touch our Yehida. On Yom Kippur, it's solemn, right? It's through prayers. But on Purim, it's through joy. It's through simcha. Okay? All right. So now we're gonna praise Mordechai. So Mordechai was part of the king's court. Okay. He walked, number 11, he walked in front of the courtyard of the harem to find out how Esther was doing and what might happen to her. Now look, this Megillah takes place in 14 years. Okay. And sometimes, as v'shalom, if a person has a problem, a relative has a problem, so you're concerned for a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year. But afterwards, people get on with their lives, right? To Mordechai's credit, every single day, he would walk in front of the harem and try by different messengers to find out, how is Esther? What's happening to her? Like, he was always concerned. That's why, right? The hostages, right? And we say, bring them back. And there's even hostage square in Tel Aviv, where the families are every day, they're speaking, don't forget them, they're here. We're not gonna forget them, we're with you, right? Okay, so let's go. So, number 12, each girl was given a turn to come to King Ahasuerus after making herself beautiful for 12 months, because it took this long for the treatment. 6 months with oil and myrrh, and 6 months with perfumes and women's cosmetics. Listen, we have said, every time they mention King Ahasuerus, in some way, they're talking about God. When a neshama passes on from this world, how long does it take the process of purification for that neshama? 12 months. It has to purify itself before it can go in front of the Kisei HaKavod, in front of the throne of God. So this is also, a girl wouldn't just go to the king. It had a process of 12 months. They had to prepare her. They had to make sure she was not sick, Okay, so this is what's happening. Okay, 13. And when the girl was ready to go to the king, she was given anything that she wanted to take with her from the harem to the king's house. Every girl wanted to be chosen queen. So they would ask, give me the best perfume, give me the best jewels. I want to be chosen queen, right? 14, in the evening, she would come, and in the morning, she would return to another harem under the care of Shashgash. This was no ordinary beauty pageant. This was a beauty pageant where the king would spend one night with the girl. And then she was going to a second harem, which means once she was with the king, she could never go home and marry a mere mortal human being, because she had been with the king. So afterwards, for the rest of her life, she was going to spend in a second harem. Okay. All right. Okay, and the care of Shashgash, the king's servants, who watches over the women. She was not allowed to go to the king unless the king wanted her, and she would be called by name. 15. When it was the turn of Esther, daughter of Abihail, uncle of Mordechai, who adopted her as his own daughter, to come before the king, she asked only for the things offered by Haggai, the king's servant, and guards. So she was not interested. I hope I am not chosen. That's what she said, right? And so she asked for the mere elements. Everyone who saw Esther liked her. This is the Chaim. Esther was taken to the house of King Ahasuerus in the second month of Tevet, in the 7th year of his reign. Okay, the original party, when this started in the 3rd year. So already 4 years have passed by. The king loved Esther more than all the other women. Why? She was not trying to seduce him. She was not trying to be the chosen one. Why did he like her? He said she had pain. Okay. Okay. Favored her and approved of her more than the other girls, so he put the royal crown on her head and made her queen instead of Vashti. Immediately, he put the crown on her head and said, this is gonna be my queen. The king made a feast for all his leaders and servants, a feast in honor of Esther, and he said there would be no taxes for the people in his countries, and he gave out gifts that only a king come. So, a big intrigue for the king was, Esther, please tell me, which nation are you from? Because in this kingdom, there were many, many countries, right? And he wanted 127 countries. And he said, I will reward the country that you're from. I'm going to take out the taxes from them. Please tell me. But Esther was always true to her Yehida. She was always true to her roots. So she would not say whatever Mordechai told her, that's what she would do. Okay. Okay, so look what happens before number 19. It says to us that the girls are going to be gathered a second time. What do you mean? A second beauty pageant? So we said that Mordecai was also part of the court. And Mordecai wanted almost like to test Hashem. Because Mordecai was a tzaddik, okay? But he said, okay, let me really verify that this is no coincidence, that among all the most beautiful women in the world, he chooses the one Jewish girl. Let me test. So Mordecai said to the king, you know, king, if you really want to find out whose nationality is Esther from, you should make a second beauty pageant. Why? Because she'll get jealous of the other girls, and in order to keep her position as queen, she will tell you, she will divulge. Really, Mordecai was really testing, is this really from Hashem? So they gathered the girls a second time, and he still chose Esther. So, Esther, okay, 19, when the girls were gathered a second time, Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate, okay? Esther told no one where she was born or what nation she was from because Mordecai told her not to. When Mordecai told her something, Esther did what she was supposed to. As she did what he was raising. If only we could do what Hashem had told us before we came to this world, right? 21. Okay, so Esther's chosen queen, as you know, and she keeps the queen, the crown. So Esther tells King Ahasuerus, you know, it's befitting for a king to have Jewish advisors, because even Nebuchadnezzar took children from the destruction of the first temple, children from Jerusalem, Daniel, right? And he made him his advisors, right? So the best kings have Jewish advisors. So even though Mordecai was part of the court, he raised up Mordecai, okay? By raising up Mordecai, he lowered Bigtan and Teresh, two of the king's officials, okay? So, number 21, in the days when Mordecai sat at the king's gate, Bigtan and Teresh, two of the king's palace guards, became angry with King Ahasuerus and plotted to kill him. So they were angry because they had been lowered position, and they plotted to poison the king. And they spoke about their plan in Farsi. But they saw this Jew, Mordecai, near them. And they said, this Jew doesn't understand our language. But Mordecai had been part of the Sanhedrin. All of our judges knew 70 languages. Why? Because in order to judge a person precisely, you need to hear them in their mother tongue. For some reason, people, you know, even Joseph's brothers, right, who sold him at age 17, when they came to Egypt and he was a viceroy, they didn't have a clue that this was Joseph, because Joseph was speaking in Egyptian. He was not speaking in Hebrew. So when people speak a second language, right, then it's a different intonation. Okay, so number 22, Mordecai, okay, page 14. Mordecai heard about the plot and told Queen Esther about it. How did they communicate? Through different messengers. Esther told the king about it in Mordecai's name. So this is like a little detail. It looks almost like a comma, you know, like a little comma. Like, what do I care if Esther told the king the story in her name or in Mordecai's name? Like, who cares, right? But really, a big theme of this Megillah is that there's no coincidences. There's no coincidence. Everything coincides. Everything is hashgacha pratit. Everything is divine providence, right? Okay, so Esther could have told this story king, there's somebody trying to poison you, and I discovered it, why would it be to our advantage to say, I was the one that discovered it? Because the king would have taken her to Cartier and to Bulgari and bought her more jewels, right? Find her more favor. But Esther was not about her ego. Esther was about doing Hashem's will. And Hashem tells us in Pirkei Avot, whoever tells a story and gives credit to the author brings what? Brings redemption to the world. It's like amazing, huge.
Any story?
Huh?
Any story?
Any story. You know, it says like this. It says that when you see a body of water, the Baal Shem Tov said that when you see a body of water, you should say that the Baal Shem Tov said that it's a blessing.
You have to give credit to them.
It says, the Baal Shem Tov said that when you see a body of water, you should say the Baal Shem Tov said that it's blessing. Water is blessing. You need to give credit to whoever said. Why? Because giving credit is the game. Connect the dots. If we really give credit, you know, this, you see what a beautiful day we have? It's an amazing day, right? We're having a beautiful class, thank God. If we really connect the dots, who made the class? Who gives us the energy to think? Who gives us air? Who made the sun? Who made peace here? Who? Where are we gonna get to? Everything is Hashem. So whoever says something in the name of the author, really, it's gonna bring redemption, because redemption is gonna come when the whole world recognizes God. That's why plagiarism is so terrible. Plagiarism is, there's no author, it's me. Okay, all right, anyways. So it's not a comma. And because she told the king in the name of Mordecai, they found out about it, okay? Okay, the matter was looked into and found to be true. Bigtan and Teresh were hanged on the gallows, and the story was written down in the king's diary. This is a chess game. This is a chess game. Life is a chess game. So already in the diary of the king, they wrote down that Mordecai the Jew found out the plot from Bigtan and Teresh to kill the king, and they wrote it down. And this was very necessary, because this is going to be the turning point of our Megillah later on. Okay? All right. Number 3. Page 15 here. Okay. After these events, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman. So we already have Queen Vashti is dead. Queen Esther is in the palace. Mordecai has a very, good position in the kingdom. Mordecai has points because he saved the king's life, and it's written in the king's diaries. And now that, because Hashem says in the Torah that before the problem comes the cure. Already the cure is in place, and now there's a problem that's going to come along. Okay. After these events, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. Agagite was the king of Amalek, raising him up to be more important than all the other ministers. And all the king's servants in the gate of the king would get on their knees and bow to Haman. But Mordecai would not get on his knees or bow. Why did Mordecai not bow? Because before this Megillah, okay, we have to see this is just written, but there's the oral Torah, or the oral tradition. Before this Megillah takes place, Mordecai and Haman were 2 of the officers in the army of the king. And there was a war, and their battalions were in the battlefield. And Haman's battalion ran out of water and food. So in the middle of the battlefield, Haman goes to Mordecai and says, please feed me and my battalion and give us water and food. But Mordecai already, because he's a tzaddik, he knows, he says, I will give you water and food with the exchange that you become my slave. So Haman agrees, and in the sole of the shoe of Mordecai, they write a contract that Haman is going to receive water and food in exchange for becoming the slave of Mordecai. So now that many years later, Haman is second in command, right? And by promoting him, they say that everybody in the kingdom has to bow down. The only person in the kingdom that doesn't bow down is who? Mordecai. And in fact, he goes like this. Remember, you really are my slave, because everything that belongs to the slave belongs to the owner. Okay. All right. So, you know, there's a story. I think it's from the Talmud. There's a story about a very wealthy man. His son went away on a trip, and the wealthy man is about to die. So he doesn't know how to tell his son. So he takes his servant and he says, you know, I'm going to give you all my wealth. All my wealth is going to be bequeathed to you. I'm going to make up a contract and I'm going to give you all my wealth. And I just want you to find out my son and tell him that I gave you all my wealth. I'm only going to give one thing to my son. That's the only thing. I'm going to give you as a slave to my son. That's the only thing. Because all my wealth I'm going to give to you. So the slave is so happy. Now he's a very wealthy man, right? And he goes, he finds his son. He says, listen, your father left me everything. He only left you one thing, you know, that me, I'm a slave. And the child understood. My father was so smart, because everything that belongs to the slave belongs to the owner. Okay. All right. So, okay. So, okay. 2, and all the king's servants in the gate of the king would get on their knees and bow to Haman, but Mordecai would not get on his knees or bow. The king's servants in the gate of the king said to Mordecai, why don't you listen to the king's order? They spoke to him every day, and he did not listen. So they told Haman about to see if Mordecai would keep his words, because he told him he was Jew. So he says, I am not bowing to anybody in this world. I only bow to Hashem, right? Plus, I'm his master. You know, another thing that the Talmud says is that a person shouldn't walk with his neck very up high. It's a sign of arrogance. So I would imagine Haman walking down. How would he walk? I don't think he even noticed who was bowing and not. But the people became jealous. So they went up to him, hey, Haman, look, there's one Jew. He's not bowing. It's Mordecai. So the next time, Haman went like this. And when he saw this one Jew not bowing, it says that what our eyes see, our heart wants. That's why we have to really guard our eyes. That's why Hashem made eyelids, to guard our eyes, because things that we see, then we want, right? So, number 5, when Haman saw that Mordecai would not get on his knees or bow before him, Haman was filled with anger. Which part of us gets angry? It's the animal soul. He's a big animal soul. He did not want to punish only Mordecai, because he had been told about Mordecai's nation. Remember, he is a descendant of Esau. The irrational hatred, it's not just one person I have to punish. It's the whole Jewish people. Haman wanted to destroy all the Jews in the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus. Isn't that what Hamas wants right now? Every Jew, right? In the first month of the month of Nisan, the 12th year of the reign of King Ahasuerus. Now we're in the 12th year, okay? Remember, this started at the 3rd year. They made a lottery. So Haman says, I'm going to destroy the Jewish people, but I know that God takes care of them. So I'm going to choose the date by a lottery, because a lottery, that's out of Hashem's grip. You know, like, it's just, you know, you threw the dice, which is also foolish, because who's going to determine what number comes on the dice? It's God. So he's making his lottery right? He's making his lottery, and he makes his lottery on Nisan. Okay, Nisan is the month of Pesach. Nisan is also called the first of the months, and Adar, which is right before Nisan, so it's 11 months. Okay, and he thinks, oh my gosh, Adar, great, that's the month that Moses died. So their leader died. It's bad luck for the Jews. What he didn't realize is that Moses was also born on the same day, right? So, okay. And he made a pour in the presence of Haman to choose the day and the month, the 12th month of the year, the month of Adar. Then Haman said to King Ahasuerus, there's a certain nation scattered and spread among the other nations in all the countries in your kingdom. Spread out. It's talking about the Jews. Jews are not getting along with Jews. Does it sound familiar? What happened before October 7th? Jews against Jews, right? And they don't obey the king's laws. They have different laws. There's no reason for the king to put up with them. If it pleases the king, let a law be written for their destruction, and I will pay 10,000 silver pieces for deposit in the king's bank. Then the king took off his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, son of Hammedatha the Agagite, the enemy of the Jews. And the king said to Haman, the money is yours. I don't need your money. Keep your money to do whatever you want with this nation. The king's scribes were called on the 13th day of Nisan, and they wrote everything. So in Bedibar Tabam, Rabbi Bogomilsky tells us, he told this story many times in class. There are two men. Okay, there are two men. One wants to dig a hole, but he has a problem. What am I gonna do with the dirt that I take out from the hole? I don't know. I don't have where to, like today when you throw out garbage, it's like a problem, right? But it's more expensive to take out garbage from the house. And there's another man that he has a problem because he wants to build a mountain, but he doesn't know where to get the dirt. So these two people meet and they say, I have this problem, I have that problem. And they say, oh, great, let's shake hands. I'm gonna dig the hole and you take the dirt. So they're both very happy. And Rabbi Bogomilsky tells us, these are two types of anti-Semites, okay? This is Haman. This is Hitler, okay? A Jew, you have to kill him and put him in a hole. And this is Napoleon. This is Ahasuerus. A Jew, you have to co-opt him. You have to invite him to your party. You have to emancipate him. You have to assimilate him. And that's the way, but they're both anti-Semites. Okay, it says that's why Ahasuerus says, keep your money. I don't want it. I'm very happy of what you're gonna do. But look how smart Mordechai was. Mordechai said, Esther, don't say your nation. Right? Okay. So, and the king said to, okay, and and it was addressed to the king's rulers, to the governors, to every country and officials of every nation. It was written to each country, okay, in their script, and it was sealed with the king's ring. Messengers left quickly to deliver letters to all the king's countries with orders to destroy, kill, and put an end to all the Jews, young and old, women and children. And on the same day, the 13th of the month of Adar, to steal their belongings, because Haman was even smarter than Hitler. Hitler had to use an army, had to make crematoriums, right? Not so Haman. Haman, this decree was going to take place in 11 months. They were going to give weapons. They were going to arm the populace. They were going to arm regular people. And the permission was on the 13th of Adar in 11 months, you can kill your Jewish neighbor and expropriate all their money. It's yours. So there really, literally was nowhere to run. You have to understand the decree. Ahasuerus was king over the whole civilized world, and the whole civilized world was given weapons to kill the Jews. Okay, now, in these 11 months, we're gonna see what happens, okay? Okay, and okay, the messengers and the letter read, this law should be announced in every country to all the nations so that they should know and be ready for that day. The messengers left in a hurry as the kings told them, and the law was announced in Shushan, the capital. And the king and Haman sat down to drink, and the city was in confusion. Okay, we're almost finished for today. Okay, number 4. When Mordecai learned of all that had happened, number 4 is on page 17. He tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes. This was a sign of mourning. He went out to the center of the city and cried a great and bitter cry. He did not enter. Remember, when have we heard a bitter cry? We already mentioned it. Asaph cried a great and bitter cry, right? Okay. He did not enter the king's gate because no one was allowed to inside the king's gate in sackcloth. At the same time, in every country within reach of the king's word and law, there was great mourning among the Jews. You know, this is like in a discotheque. People are, you know, in the rave. It's very, very sad. But October 7th, in that rave, people were high, people were this, people were that, right? And when this massacre came, all of a sudden the party stopped, right? We had said the Jews here, they were like taken by, you know, the rave. Oh, we're being accepted by the non-Jews. Oh, it's so great. It's such a life, it's a party, this, that. And all of a sudden, when the decree came in, all of a sudden, the party stopped. This is what happened, right? And, okay. And among the Jews, there was fasting, crying, and wailing, and many wore sackcloth and ashes. Number 4, when Esther's maid and servants came and told her, the queen became very upset. So, Esther's in the palace. What is the attribute of monarchy? Monarchy is aloof. You know what aloof is? Aloof is detached. Marie Antoinette, she's in the palace. They come and tell her the people don't have bread to eat. What does she answer? Let them eat cake. There's no bread. Let them eat cake, right? Because it's aloofness. They're not in touch with the people. So they come and tell her, Mordecai is in the middle of the city wearing sackcloth and ashes. So what does she think? He needs new clothes. Then let us send him a pair of new clothes, right? Which is detached from what is real. Okay.
Aloof in Spanish.
Aloof. Aloof es desprendido. Hay otra palabra. Aloof es como el rey está en otra. Es en otro. No se va a relacionar you know, you have a king. These people that made the $150 million win. Okay. Can they really relate to a person that is working to survive today, for the day? That $5 means the food that they're gonna put on the table today? I don't know, because you know, it's like okay. Anyways, so okay. Number 4, when Esther's maids and servants came and told her, the queen became very upset. She sent Mordecai clothes to wear so that he could take off his sackcloth. But he did not accept them. It's not about the clothes. It's not about the clothes. I don't need new clothes. Then Esther called for Hatach, one of the servants of the king. Some say that this was Daniel. And she ordered him to go to Mordecai to find out what was going on. Hatach went out to Mordecai to the city square in front of the king's gate. Mordecai told him everything that had happened to him and about the money that Haman planned to give to the king's bank for killing the Jews. He also gave him a copy of the written law, which was given out in Shushan, calling for the destruction of the Jews. He told the servants to show the letter to Esther, explain it to her, and tell her she must go to the king, appeal to him, and plead for the people. So they tell her the law. They show her the law. And now Now Haman says, now you have to go, and now you have to declare yourself that you're a Jewess and plead for your people. And how does Esther answer? How does she answer? Esther sent back with a message to Mordecai. All the king's servants and people of the king's countries know that any man or woman who comes before the king in his inner courtyard, if he was not called, no matter who it is, even the queen, the law is that he must be killed. Only the king appoints his golden scepter to a person will he live. And I have not been called to come before the king for the last 30 days. How does she answer? She answers with logic. Listen, of course I'm going to ask and plead for the Jewish people. Of course I'm in the best position in the whole wide world to plead for the Jewish people. I'm the queen. I have my husband's ear. It's great. I will ask. But listen, by logic, there's a law. If I show up without an invitation, my head is going to be cut off. So it's not going to be good for the Jewish people. Anyways, we're going to lose our opportunity. And plus, it's been 30 days since I have been called. So soon I'll be called. And of course, yes? Who's speaking? We said there's 5 parts of an neshama. 5 parts. This is not Yehida. This is not the part that is with God. Right? It's nefesh, because it's the instinct to survive. Right? And we're going to see how does Mordecai answer. Now, mind you, this is a woman that has been kidnapped, been taken hostage, has been violated by this king on an ongoing basis. This is who Mordecai is speaking to. Okay. Okay. 12. They told Mordecai what Esther said, and Mordecai answered Esther. How does she answer? Do not think that you, of all the Jews, have a better chance of being saved by escaping into the king's house. If you stay quiet during this time, relief and rescue will come to the Jews from another place, and you and your father's house will die. And who knows, maybe it was just for this time that you became queen. Is this fair? Is this a way that you speak to a person that has been kidnapped and is being violated and raped? Is this a way to speak to her? Why does Mordecai speak to Esther in this way? Because he knows this is not the divine soul I'm speaking to. Esther is speaking from her animal soul. The animal is about the will of survival, the instinct to survive. And this is a tactic from the Tanya. The Tanya gives us this technique. Many times we have to speak harshly to ourselves in order to break that coarseness of the animal soul. In fact, how does she answer? She answers, no, oh, how could you speak to me this way? Don't you see? She doesn't answer like that. She says, go, gather all the Jews living in Shushan, and they should fast for me. They should not eat and drink for 3 days, night and day. Also, I and my maids will fast, and then I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I die, then I will die. Mordecai went and did everything that Esther told him to, which means he broke through. He broke through that coarseness of the animal, and Esther was brilliant. Immediately, she makes a plan. And this is an amazing plan. We're going to see how it plays out. But she touched her core, and it said, yes, I'm going. And in fact, she says, and if I die, I die. Because Mordecai told her, who knows? Maybe all these years that you've been in the palace, the only reason is for this moment to save the Jewish people. You know, and we don't know. Sometimes a soul comes to this world 70 and 80 years, and it's just for one little mission. And perhaps we're going to miss it. Ladies, I'm going to go.
Wow.
Hope we enjoyed.
Wow.
I hope you come next week and we'll finish the Megillah. Okay?
You know I'll be here.
Thank you, Vivian.
Okay.
Love that.
Thank you so much. No. Don't worry.
They tell them next door, and I said, she
It's
told
okay.
you
It's
weren't
okay.
here?
No, it's okay.